Hey, and welcome to episode 63 of the Cellarcast. Gonna give you guys fair warning. It's, there's a heat wave, rocking through California right now. And, I also happen to live in the hottest room in my house. So, I have the windows closed. Honestly, I was gonna leave them open, but there's someone outside. There's someone outside my windows, family member. I don't like it when people can listen to me. So I've closed them. So much to say that it's very hot in here, and my energy level is not the highest because of that. So, just fair warning. There was no comment, no questions last time, but I did want to touch on something because it freaked me, it alarmed me. It gave me the freak. So someone, who was it? I have to look at the comments. Losey said that in videos I give the impression that I'm shorter. I kind of forgot over the course of the 3-hour conversation that we had in the last podcast. When this came up, I guess at some point I talked about my height, or I mentioned how tall I was. So if you don't know, I'm 6 feet tall, and maybe I have a skewed perspective because, I have my body, but you at home might have a different perspective because you aren't seeing through my eyeballs and you're just watching me on a screen. So it never occurred to me that I might look shorter in videos or something. The first time that I became aware of this was when I met Max in person in LA a couple months ago, and we were in the hotel, and he just kind of, I think we're waiting for someone to get ready, and he says to me you look much something like, how tall are you? And I'm like, 6 feet, and he goes, oh, you look a lot shorter in your videos. And I was like, what? Do I? And apparently he had the impression that I was much shorter. And I was like, really? That really threw me off. So I asked him, why? Where did you get that impression from? And he said he was trying to think about it, and it was a combination of the angle. I'm always from the shoulders up pretty much. There aren't a lot of I don't know, what would you call it? Not benchmarks. A lot of things to compare me to, as a viewer. Yes, there's my window in the background, but you don't know how high up that is, or I never really stand up near it. There are videos where I stand up. I guess it's just you don't have the contrast with other things or other people to tell you. Comment down below. Me saying that I'm 6 feet, did that surprise you? Did you think that I was shorter? Did I come off as shorter? I'm actually very curious to know now. It's not like it bothers me. It's just something that never occurred to me. Really? I guess, I don't know. I don't think about my height very often. So when it comes up and it's I don't know, someone got it wrong or they got the wrong impression, I guess it kind of interests me. It stokes this topic. I was like, huh. It's if you met someone who, I don't know, thought, I was gonna, no, that's not a good, I was gonna say if you met someone who thought the moon was made of cheese or something. I'm like, no, that's just dumb. That's just, but I guess it is an area of, that's just a topic I never really thought about. What is the moon made of? Oh, I guess I never really thought about it. It was a rock. Granite? I wonder, what is the moon made? What kind of rock is the moon? Because there's different kinds of rock, isn't there? What is the moon made of? The average composition of the lunar surface by weight is roughly 43% oxygen, 20% silicon. Like, these are just like the metals. Excuse me. What material is it made of? Elements known to be present on the lunar surface include oxygen, silicon, iron, magnesium, calcium, aluminum, manganese, and titanium. Among the more abundant are oxygen, iron, and silicon. So it's like rock? It's like rock, but it's different kind of... I'm going to skim an article real quick. Yeah, yada yada. The moon may have a solid iron core surrounded by a softer, somewhat molten liquid iron outer core. Outer core may extend as far as 310 miles. Most of the interior of the moon is made up of the lithosphere, which is about 600 second densest moon. What was it made of? A rocky surface covered with regolith. What is regolith? Search Google for regolith. Unconsolidated residual or transported material that overlies the solid rock on the Earth, Moon, or a planet. A blanket of unconsolidated, loose, heterogeneous, superficial deposits. So it's just a bunch of shit. Dust, broken rocks, other related materials. So it's just a bunch of shit. It's made of a bunch of stuff. Okay. Interesting. What are rocks made of? What are rocks made of? Like solid crystals of different minerals that have been fused together. So it's just like, oh yeah, so I guess rocks are just like minerals that have formed into like big like crystalline structures, I guess, that are just really big. Okay, so it's just minerals. What are minerals? We're going on a... What are minerals then? Mineral. A solid inorganic substance of natural occurrence. A mineral, some sciencelearn.org.nz. The New Zealanders are coming out to help us learn about minerals. A mineral is an element or chemical compound that is normally crystalline and that has been formed as a result of geological processes. So, okay. An element or a chemical compound. So, it's just a bunch of atoms. And atoms are, atoms are on the periodic table. And then they make molecules. So, the elements... And then the elements are different because of the protons and the electrons and the neutrons. So that's why they're different and distinct. And then they make minerals and chemical compounds. And then the minerals make rocks. Okay. There's a clay mineral called smectite. Smectite? Oh, it sounds like a... Smectite sounds like... Smectite sounds like... what would I... Marmite. What's Marmite? What's Marmite again? Marmite. Yeah, it's that spread. It's that weird spread. Like, spread some smectite. Dude, imagine, like, your mom comes back from the store and she got, like, the smectite instead of the Marmite, and you gotta spread clay all over your toast. So anyway, we're gonna start off with some things that happened this week. Basically, technically the previous week, I guess. One thing that I thought was really cool that I have been engaging with has been a new YouTube channel started by none other than Masahiro Sakurai, It is called... What is the exact title? I should have kept a tab open with it. It is called Masahiro Sakurai on Creating Games. It is... it's like a personal channel for Sakurai. And to talk about game development, like design, technical aspects, the career of being a game designer, and it is really, really cool. I don't where to even begin with this. So essentially, this is actually an idea that you could trace all the way back to when Sakurai was on a couple years ago. When was he on Harada's bar? Harada bar Sakurai. So if you don't know, 2021. Okay, so just last year. So Harada, who is the producer of the Tekken series, Katsuhiro Harada, produces a series on his YouTube. He has a YouTube channel called Harada's Bar, and it is literally just basically just a podcast of these kind of smaller 30 and under minute episodes featuring other people from the games industry, specifically the Japanese side. They are in Japanese, but they are subtitled. And Sakurai appeared on one back in 2021, and it was a big hit. And during the conversation, Harada says something like, you could probably, if you made a YouTube channel, it would do great. You should just do something like this. Because Sakurai is one of those rare game devs who is basically he's in a very interesting kind of senior position, in the sense that he is so accomplished, and he's such a well-known, well-regarded figure, and I'm sure he's loaded from Smash and all his Nintendo money, that he probably doesn't have to work again. I have no doubt he'll still be making games, just because it seems like something that he just likes. I think he even said why bother retiring, because he's in his 60s or something. Looks great for 60. How old is he? Masahiro Sakurai. Let me click on it. 52 years. Oh yeah, he looks good. Makes a little. I'd be a little more impressed if he was 16 and looked like that. But what the fuck was I saying? Right. So he's probably set. Even though he'll still be making games, I'm assuming, in some way, as just a passion. But he kind of can just do sort of whatever he wants now. So what he's definitely, if I had to guess, because he's been pumping these videos out for on a pretty, he's had the channel for about a week or two, week and a half, something like that. He's been putting these out once a day, every 2 days, something like that. And these are not hey, I'm sitting down to record a vlog. These are well produced, very bite-sized, under 7 minutes, but very bite-sized videos with really good production value, with a nice camera, nice audio, fully subtitled in Japanese and English. There's 2 versions of each video. There are tons of graphics and animations, and professionally, it's quite a professional production. So I imagine, I don't know how long he's had this in the works. I can imagine that he has a huge backlog, and he's just been producing these for like a couple months at least, and just getting, I could probably see like them getting like a couple of them filmed like in a day. Like you could maybe film like 5 of these in a day or something like that. Obviously the editing process and all that is going to take much longer, but you know, it's not a ton of recording time that he's sitting in front of the camera. So it looks like the production looks almost identical to the Smash presentations that he would do. So I'm led to believe that it's the same team, which they're probably then licensed or contracted, I don't know what the arrangement is, through Sora Limited, which is his company. I don't know if it's like an in-house thing by them, or if it's they get these people. It's like a third party they contract out. But yeah, no, it looks, the production value is very high, and there's a lot of these things, even if they're very short. They're about as long as they need to be. Like, they aren't these crazy, super long. There's like Game Maker's Toolkit, for instance, which is a great series if you like game design and stuff like that. And that's a slightly more longer form. That'll be like a 10 to 20 minute video. These are much smaller. Like, you can watch them. Like, you don't feel like you need to put aside any time to watch them. Am I gonna sneeze? Yeah, I am. So that's just on like the production side. Content wise, these are great. These are really delightful. Every episode is Sakurai. He's kind of broken them down into a couple different categories of what kind of episode they are. Sometimes it's talking about, if I look at his thumbnails, I don't quite get what the categories are, but they make sense to him. He's got things about like what's nice is that they're all actually like, there's a little like ribbon at the top of each thumbnail that tells you what category of video it is. So like, looks like the red ones are like, I don't know, announcement things, like meta ones about the channel or whatever, like the first one about this channel, and then the second one just an overview of all the games he's made. Then he's got like these like purplish banner ones, which are for him personally going over like the games that he's created. Did you know he directed Kirby's Dream Land when he was 19? God. Jeez. There's like the yellow ones for more like technical things, I think. Like he did the really interesting one on like what it's just called frame rates. It's called like what, and thumbnails like, well, what's in a frame? Oh, he has them broken down. Okay. So planning and game design. So that's like what the frame rates one is. There's two, I haven't seen one of them, but there was a great one called Risk and Reward, which he puts under category B, the blue ones. Called Game Essence is their category. He has one called the Risk and Reward, which is just a phenomenal little video about his theory, I guess, that fun comes from the player making decisions that are based on balancing risk and reward, which I think maybe you could find exceptions to it, but that is like it's such a good like encapsulation of what makes games interesting or enjoyable. Just great. And he uses Space Invaders throughout the video for as an example. Great. And actually not the one I thought he was going with. Space Invaders has a kind of infamous little quirk that ends up adding to the game, like an unintentional design element, you might call it, which is so in Space Invaders you got like the whole fleet of aliens that are slowly moving left and right and then moving down a line every time they hit the border. But as they start off very slow, but as you kill more of the enemies, they gradually start speeding up, which creates a lot more tension. So like the more you kill, the more dangerous it actually gets, in a sense. The less time you afford yourself. And the reason for this was not actually intentional. It was 100% a result of the hardware, because the hardware at the time was so weak that having that many entities on screen actually kind of dropped. The game could not process them moving quickly. So it's actually it's not actually like a mechanic that they get faster. It's just that the CPU is freed up to make them move faster. And I think in re-releases they might have had to like re-emulate that behavior just because the CPU power is so different. I'm not sure. But that was 100% something that was accidental, just a result of the hardware. That the game just speeds up as it goes because it's getting easier to run. And he did not actually bring that up. He brought up a much more interesting intentional design decision, or something that ends up being more intentional, which is like the way that shots from the enemies kind of move in relation to the player's ship and such. And it's like, I don't know, it's great. I would highly recommend you go watch all the stuff on his channel. Really cool one of the first videos he did. Yeah, the first like actual video he did was about hit stop, which I thought was great. And that was under design specifics category. So design specifics was like, so the hit stop video was, it was interesting in that it's a category that kind of goes overlooked very often by most people, but like it's one of the things that could really like make a game feel good, which is just like, oh, when something big happens, pause for just a split second to sell it. You want to sell it to the player. So he had this great example where he takes some like top-down shooters, like 1942 or something, and in a lot of those games, when you die, it just, you're like, oh no, I died, fuck. But so what he does is he takes the same sequence, the same bit of footage, like 5 seconds of footage of the player character getting shot down, like blowing up, and in the original it's just like just poof, and then he adds through editing a hit stop, and then a hit stop and a shake, like when it happens, like the screen stops and shakes, and then he adds a third component, which is hit stop, screen freezes, the shake happens, and then as the ship is blowing apart, after the screen stop is over, once gameplay resumes, it happens in slow motion until the animation's done, and then it proceeds at normal speed. So it's like boom, and like once you see all the components together, you're like, wow, that does feel great. Like that feels so much better, even just watching it. Reminded me, Mega Man is so great at that. And that's something that Mega Man's great at. Mario's great at that too. I mean, like it's like classic, boop, and then Mario like pops up into the air, drops down, and all that. With Mega Man, the feedback you would get in like Mega Man games it's always so great. It's like this big, and like there's not hit stop and like every time you take a hit, but there's like this nice flashing like ouch thing all around him. He's like flashing. There's like, it's a lot of like, you got hit, and then when you die, it's like freeze frame, pew, 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 pew. There's like that classic circles exploding out of him. Like there's some like aftermath for you to like reflect on the moment a little bit. So yeah, great video. Totally go check out his channel. It's really interesting, and again, really short videos. I mean, the longest one he's done is 10 minutes. Most of them are, let's see, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, 4 minutes, 10-minute one, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, 2 minutes. Oh my god, one of his most recent ones he made was about input lag. That was a ballsy move, Mr. Sakurai, for someone who led the development of Smash Ultimate, one of the worst, actually probably the worst modern fighting game to play online. Holy shit. I don't know if this is true or not, but I heard somewhere that the reason they didn't decide to implement rollback was because they didn't like the way it looked. They didn't like the look of when a rollback would happen, which feels so backwards. I don't know if that's true or if he said that. I tried to find the quote. I didn't look very long, but yeah, terrible reasoning. I know it's probably because Nintendo just they didn't want to give them the money to, and because they didn't prioritize online. Like, all they wanted was they wanted online to exist, and that was it. They probably didn't give a fuck about how well it actually played, just that it functioned. Yeah, so I have no idea if that was actually true. Yes, rollback is always better, even visually. Because thing is, if you're playing on a mostly good wired connection, most rollbacks you don't even see. They happen in the little in-between frames of where a character is just walking forward or attacking. Most rollbacks are just completely covered up. They only start to get noticeable when the connection gets bad. And at the point that the connection gets bad, it's way more important that the player playing does not feel input delay on all of their moves and all of their actions, which is what rollback lets you do. It lets you play with no delay because I'm not going to go into a big spiel about why rollback's better. But yeah, that video was mostly about like hardware things that can make a game's input lag feel worse. I wonder what the comments look like. I didn't look at the comments on the video. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because I forgot about this. Apparently, Smash Ultimate has like 8 frames of built-in lag. What? What? Why? That's crazy. I remember when Street Fighter V got ripped apart because it had 8 frames of native lag before you even factor in things like monitor latency or online delay. Woo. Woo. Yeah, I don't know. There's like 100. There's also like very weird. I saw a thread from a game dev about how oftentimes input delay is kind of out of the developer's hands. It kind of ends up being on like the way that there's a lot of like hardware and like it's weird. It's not as simple as like just make it lower, but yeah, bit awkward of a look. But hey, overall the channel's great. Sakurai's fascinating guy, and he's basically he's not even monetizing it. He doesn't even run ads on these. He's essentially just giving like a free college course on his YouTube channel for various elements of game design, and it's not a ton right now. It's a lot of like little bite-sized things, but over time, at the rate that he's pumping these things out, this channel is going to be like a wonderful repository of information from, I don't know, like one of the most well-regarded people in the industry. Yeah, so go him. I'm glad that he's doing this. It's very rare. I don't know how many other people could exactly do this from the perspective. There's not many people who are in Sakurai's shoes of being like, you could retire if you wanted to. Also, everyone loves you. Like maybe Kojima in like 10 years, maybe. Maybe like I don't know. Maybe like I don't know. Maybe some other kind of I have no idea. But it's cool that he's doing it. So check it out. It'll be linked below. Like all my stuff is usually linked. What should I talk about? Oh, okay. I had a weird experience the other day. So JoJo All-Star Battle R came out. It's the version for pirates. And I have not bought it because it's a $50 re-release that of a game from like 2013 that adds like characters. It basically just like reverse ports characters from Eyes of Heaven into the All-Star Battle game. It's the same engine. Basically you're paying for an updated roster, mostly of characters that they did not have to, like, I don't know. It doesn't seem worth it. Also, there's no rollback. If it had rollback, I would probably like try to buy it. If it had a rollback, I would actually go for it. But as it stands, I do not think it's worth it. Even though I'm a huge JoJo fan, I think I can pass on it. However, there were some Japanese players who were uploading clips of just random things that they were trying out in the training mode. So one of the new characters in All-Star Battle R is Pet Shop. Pet Shop is Dio's pet hawk from Part 3, who has ice powers and is a big asshole. So Pet Shop also appeared in the 1997 Capcom-developed JoJo fighting game, Heritage for the Future. And if you go look up tier lists for that game, you will find that Pet Shop is banned in all competitive tournaments. Pet Shop is banned. He is banned tier. He is the top tier character of the game. You're like, how is that? He's just a bird. Well, Pet Shop has access. Well, there's a lot of things that are very annoying about Pet Shop. Like, he's always flying unless he crouches where he gets on the ground. And because he's always flying, he just goes over lows. The man's in perpetual low crush state. And there's like other, like, I think all his supers combo into each other. But like, really, those are like little minor annoyances that make a character kind of ass annoying. But really, what's broken about him is he has an incredibly easy, unblockable setup. So he has a move where he makes an icicle appear, and then it drops after like a little delay. And the recovery of the move is low enough that he can actually like attack while the icicle is falling. So the icicle is an overhead. You don't have to spend bar. I don't think Heritage for the Future doesn't have like EX moves. It costs no resource. So in like, so it's literally like, so Pet Shop can set up the icicle. All he has to do is make you block once, or get a knockdown, or anything. He can set up the icicle, and then the icicle hits you overhead, and he can go low at the same time, and you literally can't block it. There's no gap. There's no like gap where you can like do like a fuzzy block where you like hold down for so many frames and then up for so many frames. Nothing like that to even time it out. It's like a dirt easy, is that a phrase? It's a dead simple unblockable setup that just like you could just loop into like a full you do it on a full combo, loop into another one, and you just Pet Shop basically wins off of one hit. It starts an uncontestable string of offense that that makes him like over centralizing if he is allowed to be played, because he's stupid. So yeah, Pet Shop is one of the new quote-unquote characters in ASBR. And there's a clip from no, it wasn't Fenrich, it was someone else in training mode with Pet Shop. They gave him the icicle move again, and you can do, I don't know if it works the same way, but you can do this basically the same setup. You do the icicle, still hits high, he goes low. I don't know if there's like any kind of unblockable protection in the game that prevents it. Maybe I can let's just look it up to see if JoJo ASBR Pet Shop unblockable. I don't see anything. One of the only things is from the V board of 4chan. It says, Pet Shop makes this game fun for me but terrible for everyone else. Therefore, I believe this game is good. Well, at the very least, I saw this tweet of this video, and I was like, oh no, they added it again. They did it again. And now, okay. So that naturally brought to mind, I thought it would be so funny if I replied to this tweet with the link to Time of Your Life by Green Day. That's what it's called, right? Good Riddance, Time of Your Life. And that's funny because, well, that song obviously has everyone knows that song has the line, history repeats itself until it gets it right. Everyone knows that line is in that song. So I can't remember exactly the name of it because I don't really listen to Green Day. I know it's the Seinfeld song. Whenever that song came on, my mom she would start crying and she'd go, "It's the Seinfeld song." So I just looked up, I was just looking up lyric. So I look up the lyric, the one lyric that I know can remember specifically from that song, which is, again, history repeats itself until it gets it right. And I don't get any results. All I'm getting is results for this this other song from like the 50s or the 60s that is not what I'm looking for. And I keep looking up variations of it and nothing. I'm like, isn't it by Green Day? And eventually I find the song and I look at the lyrics, or I listen to that. I listen to the song just because I'm like, I haven't heard that song in a while. I listen to it. I don't hear the lyric. So I look at the lyrics, I look them up, and I'm like, where's that line? That line isn't in here. There's no way. So I start really feverishly, fervently looking for any historical trace of this lyric in any song, which left me with the horrifying realization that that lyric has, as far in recorded human history, that lyric has never been written down in any English song. Maybe in some other language, but not the one I'm thinking of. So I have this Mandela effect moment where I realize that for the better part of the 20 years of my life, I have just made up this lyric and assumed that it was in the song. I don't listen to Green Day, so I hadn't listened to it enough to know what the lyrics were. at some point in my life, I thought of this line, and I assumed it was from the song. It doesn't even sound like something in the song. Like when you mishear a lyric, it's like it doesn't sound like anything. The line in the chorus is like, excuse me, it's something unpredictable, but in the end, it's right. History repeats itself until it gets it right is totally different. Besides, like the line and syllable count, roughly. I didn't actually check the syllables. And it was so weird because like that sounds like a line that would be in a song, right? Like that sounds like a real lyric to something. It's not just like made up nonsense. Again, like when you mishear a lyric, right? Like I remember hearing like that song like Bad Moon on the Rise, and someone told me, an English teacher, my freshman English teacher in high school, told me that he had a friend who always thought that the line Bad Moon on the Rise was bathroom on the right. Like she just never thought about it until like he pointed it out, and she was like, "Oh yeah, that like doesn't really make any sense in the context of the song." No, like this sounds like it's like a, oh yeah, obviously it's something I just misheard. How silly of me. This sounds like a real lyric. But like I swear to God, it was real to me. So I just had this like weird, I don't know. I had this very like the realities merged or something. I figured they might have, in like one of the other repetitions of the chorus. No, never. Why is one of like the Google like people also ask things? Is Good Riddance a sad song? I'm looking. Yeah, I'm looking at the full lyrics. It's not there. Yeah, so that was a weird little Mandela moment that I had. Mandela effect moment. Comment down below if you also remember the lyric "history repeats itself until it gets it right." It's like, fuck, it even fits in like the meter and everything. Or maybe any other song lyrics you could have sworn were one way but were the other. I'd love to know. I'd love to have some solidarity. What the fuck was I talking about? Oh yeah, so I ended up scrapping the idea for a tweet about response to the JoJo All-Star Battle R Clip. Tom Clancy. You guys ever seen that? Cat reminded me of that horrible I think it was an Ubisoft presentation at E3, I believe, where they got some like comedian to like host or something like that, and they gave him like no prep time, and he just had like way too much energy. People called him like Mr. Caffeine or something, and he kept saying Tom Clancy. He kept calling it Tom Clancy. So like we'll just like repeat any words that start with a C. COVID? COVID-19? In any event. What's the other thing I was going to talk about? I don't have a lot to talk about this week. Oh! I can talk about... It's time. This has gotten pushed back for various reasons. It's time to talk about Chimeraland. So you may have heard of this game, or you may not have. It had like a weird kind of scattershot marketing campaign. Chimeraland is a Chinese MMO. It is developed by, who is it? Pixelsoft, who has also made, I'll check the Steam page, Chimeraland. It's their only game. published by Level Infinite, who's also put out Tower of Fantasy, which is some other MMO. All their games is a very new venture. I think Chimeraland and what is Alara Prime, another coming next year. Yeah, so this is basically their first game. Chimeraland is, if you heard about this game in any way, it was probably because of their character creator. That's how I learned about it. It is how do I describe it? It's a Chinese MMO. It is a sandbox MMO, and it is based on, the idea is it's just a big open world, and there's like lore, I guess, but you just kind of get dropped. So you make your character. The character creator in this is one of the wildest things I've ever seen. There's something like a dozen different species, and you can pick such a weird interface. You can pick male or female variant of each species, but it'll be things like you got like a couple different varieties of human. You got there's like sharks. Well, so like the male, there's like the aquatic species, and the male version is like shark people, but the female version is like jellyfish people. And there's like gorillas. I think there's like monkeys as well, specifically monkeys versus gorillas. There's like bugs. You can make like a Kamen Rider looking thing. I made a tiger guy because I think tigers are cool, like a white tiger. I'm not a furry. I just think like tiger people are cool. Get off my back. There's like, what is ox, like bird things. And also, it's not just like the male or female. There's also various different stages of life. So you can be like a baby jellyfish, which is actually literally just a gigantic polyp. It's super weird. There's like squids. Geez, what people with horns. It's crazy, and there's like 100,000 different customization options. It's honestly, the game is free. First of all, I would almost recommend just downloading it to make some cool looking characters, because it can get wild. It gets, the level of detail you have with like every single part of the face. I was getting exhausted. It took me like 2 hours. Because I wanted to see every single thing you could do to your character. And some of the stuff ends up getting really fucked up looking because of like, especially because the character I was playing, like once you start like moving different parts of the face in like 100 different ways, stuff just starts clipping through each other, and it ends up looking kind of bad. Normally, like, you don't really see that stuff during gameplay because you're zoomed out, you're behind the back and all that. But yeah, the model just starts breaking at a certain point, and you can get some bizarre looking stuff. It's like Ark. It's like the Ark character creator, but times 1,000. If that sounds terrifying to you. Maybe not as freakish as Ark with the proportions. Everything fits into like a general skeleton, but yeah, it's in terms of like variety of just like what kind of things, it's really something else. The game itself is garbage in a way that I kind of love. It's so, I'm trying to find words for it. Chimeraland's gameplay is like, so you get dropped in, the tutorial never ends. The tutorial is basically, when I say it never ends, I mean the tutorial is basically like, it's not even a tutorial. It's like a quest line that covers every single system in the game down to like all of the different like tiers of each system. Like it isn't just going to teach you like how to make a thing. It's then going like at a certain point later, you're going to go to like the tier 2 of that thing and then the tier 3 of that thing. You're just going to keep going. It provides you constantly with goals to do. And it's communicated in like the worst way possible, because it's just like a bunch of text and just do this thing. There are elements to the game that I find fun. There are systems that I find cool. There's like a billion of them, but I find some of them actually quite interesting. I'm trying to like, because there's so much shit in this game. And like honestly, imagine like an entire MMOs. So like, in most MMOs, there's like an onboarding process. Like in, for instance, like FF14, right? I think 14 has a tremendous onboarding process for what it's worth. That is, everything in 14, like it does hit you with a lot of stuff right off the bat. There's a lot of, especially story-wise, right? Like a lot of proper nouns, a lot of things you got to get used to. Like it does hit you with a bit of a like a whew, okay, you got to get familiar somewhat with this like interface and everything. Not everything in it, but just enough. And there's a lot of stuff to digest story-wise and dialogue-wise. There's a lot of story up front. But what 14 does really well is that, well, number one, the game really lets you play it at your own pace. Because everything is like quest line based. So everything in 14 is unlocked via doing some kind of a quest line. Even if it's the most like low effort, like go talk to this, the quest line is go talk to this character. It's still like a thing you have to do to unlock it, right? So it basically like hits you with, here's the very basics of the game, and then all the other stuff you're gonna go like do a quest line, and you're gonna go through the quest, and you're gonna eventually unlock it as a reward at the end of the quest line. Like when you want to unlock a dungeon, like you unlock a dungeon, like the game takes you through the story, and through the story you have like mandatory dungeons that you got to go through. And then there's a bunch of side dungeons that are not covered in the main quest. So what you do for those is there'll be like an NPC, and they have like a thing above their head specifically denoting that doing their quest will unlock something, and it's not just like you'll get some gil for it. You do you talk to them, they say, this thing is happening at this location. Then you get a little quest thing, if you accept it, and then you go over there, and then you can queue up for the dungeon, and then you do the dungeon, and then great, now you've unlocked the thing. Excuse me. Like permanently. Fantastic. Pretty much everything in the game is done through some kind of quest line where you get to do it at your own pace. And there's like a structure, is what I'm saying. There's a structure to the progression. Chimeraland has basically no structure. They came up with all of these systems, all of these things, and then they implemented all of them. They made them all function, and then they were like, fuck, how do we get the player to like do this thing? Oh, we'll have a little character always like a little spirit guide Navi thing, always telling you what your next objective is. And it's very overwhelming. It's extremely overwhelming. Like, it is not good. It is just constant, like, there's no time to digest things. There's no, like, okay, here's a good example. So, very early on in the game, like, one of the first things you do is they say, you need to make a camp. So, you open up a crafting menu that I figured would be used for a lot more things than it actually is. You open up a little crafting menu. You just click a couple buttons to make your camp. You place the camp down. I look at the camp, and it says, oh, a camp is for like resting and cooking food. So I go to the camp, and I'm like, oh, well, let me see if I can try to make some food. The game does not want you to make food yet. Now you can, but the game doesn't want you to. Despite the fact that you've just placed down a campsite, the game does not want you to explore that at all. It wants you to place it down and then go to the next thing, which is something else. I don't remember what you do, but then like 5 minutes later, after I've done a couple more like quests and seen a couple more mechanics and systems, it says, go make food at the campsite. And I'm like, why was that not the first thing you had me do? Or like, oh, make food. Oh, in order to make food, why don't you go collect some apples? And then you get introduced to like the harvesting mechanic. And you get like, you get like, just make these like overarching goals or something. And then use those, use them as opportunities to introduce the other mechanics. Like, here's a basic recipe to make like an apple something, a dish with an apple. Go collect some apples nearby or whatever. Go collect some food from nearby. Go kill this animal from near. Something like that. They don't even have to give you like a starter recipe. They could do a thing where like the first food item that you like collect after you place down the campfire, it'll give you like a low level basic recipe, because like pretty much every meat, for instance, can just be, every raw meat can just be like, you get 2 of them and you can cook it into like a small meal. Like just something as simple as that. Like whatever's, it just gives you the recipe that you can make with that thing alone, because you can pick whatever starting area you want. So I imagine there's different resources in different areas. I'm just throwing out suggestions. The point is, it just throws you into like a billion different things. And the thing is that once you have your head wrapped around them, it's not bad at all. There's some enjoyable things. I should get to that. The game does well to give... If you like games where you have a constant drip feed of goals and 100 different ways to progress, Chimeraland is for you. If you just want things to do that's relatively satisfying and kind of interesting, Chimeraland is for you. I do, in a weird way, like this game. How do I... Okay. So, like, one thing I like doing is I actually like expanding my house. There's a whole housing system. You have a mode, building mode, that you can go into at any time and use. So you basically, you can craft, it's called like the spirit orb, which is like a structure item. And the spirit orb is like, it denotes where your house is. It's like the spawn point for your house, essentially. You can place it down anywhere in the world where, like, on the proper like terrain that matches. It's like roughly tile based. You can think of it as being like kind of tile based. So if you just place it on like a tile where it makes sense, or where that's valid, put that down, and then you can start building around it. There's like a bunch of different materials that you can make into different kinds of flooring, different kinds of walls, doors, windows. You also like different roofs, stairs, all this different stuff. And then you have like a housing level that you can level it up with like, the requirements are like totally arbitrary, but it's like you just need certain materials. Like, get this kind of cloth and this kind of wood. Go to your spirit orb and, like, you just click a button. Housing level up, which... because there's, like, a building limit. It's like the Forge in Halo. There's, like, a building limit to, like, how many of a certain type of, like, foundation, for instance, you can put down. And leveling it up raises the cap. And it raises, like, where your house is, like, the limits, the bounds of your house, essentially. Because like when you're in your house, I think it's like you don't. I think you get some bonuses while you're like on your property, like regenerating HP, I think, and stuff like that. There's like a whole farming system. You can make farmland. It isn't really that useful unless you have a lot of it, from what I can tell, because it's usually just more useful to just go around the area around your house and just collect bushes or whatever. You level up. There's like a bunch of different skills that you level up Skyrim style. So like, oh, there's like a logging skill. So you have a logging level. So you go to trees, and every tree in the world can be cut down. They'll respawn at intervals, but yeah, every tree can be cut down. So you go just hold down F, you'll just take out an axe and start cutting down a tree. After you get like lumber and XP for that. It goes towards your logging skill, and then you level up your logging skill, and you get like an experience point for logging, and there's like a bunch of different things you can level up in your logging skill, like basic things like, oh, you get one more resource when you log, or like specific kinds of wood you'll get more of. And you gotta like put a point in that. That extends to like every single skill, and there's like a bunch. Like Jesus. You know, obviously there's ones with like cooking, there's mining, there's harvesting, which is like harvesting like bushes and like plant life and stuff like that. There's like searching, I'm pretty sure, which is like when you just search like dead animal bodies and stuff like that after you kill them. There's combat in this game. Combat's interesting. There's like a bunch of different weapons. There's like a bunch of different weapon types. There's like a dozen different weapons, like melee weapons, ranged weapons like bows and guns, and they have like durabilities that you can repair, and each weapon has like skills. Like there's different moves associated with each one. I don't know if they reuse them. I haven't seen enough of the weapons yet, but like you get like a big sword, and the big sword it'll have like 3 different moves. One is just like your basic like slash attack. There'll be like one where you like buff yourself up, and then it'll have one where you like cut these like energy cleaves in the air, and it goes forward as like a projectile. And then you get like a different weapon, and it's got a totally different move set. I'm like, what? And they've got different move sets like in the air, and like you have air moves. And some of them, like, oh, it'll be like this big, they'll just like drop down to the ground and do a big ground slam with your big hammer. Or you get or you do like you'll like lunge forward in the air, you'll zoom forward in the air towards like a target, whatever you're targeting. There's like, you gotta like reload ammo on your bows and stuff like that. Oh my god. So like the game tells you to like get okay, so there's a system in the game of pets. There's a pet system. Here's how you get pets. The game gives you what it calls a mustard crossbow. So you let me see if I remember this correctly. Let me actually... Chimeraland. Mustard crossbow. Okay. So, okay. The mustard shot crossbow is best used to capture the high... let's see. So use it to capture beasts around the land. In order to use it, lower the health of the beast that you wish to capture until the Capture Now icon appears above it. So, like, there's this... Wait, how do the eggs happen? Egg. Like monster eggs. Pets. Okay. Capturing pets. Okay. Okay. When a strange beast nears death, the capture icon will appear above its head. Players can then use the mustard shot crossbow capturing device to launch a net and capture it. After a successful capture, players have a good chance of obtaining a temporary strange beast and a smaller... Okay. Okay. Now I remember. So, you lower their health, like Pokemon style, take out the mustard shot crossbow, shoot it with net, and then, okay, the highest likelihood is that you will get what's called a temporary pet. Temporary pets are like, you can use them as pets for like a time. Pets are like, It depends on what kind it is. Some can be like mounts. Some just follow you around. But you'll get a temporary pet. Like, it only lasts for a certain length of time. What you want, if you want to collect the pet permanently, is that there is a smaller chance that the beast, for some reason, when you sedate it with mustard, it will drop an egg. It'll lay an egg of itself. You know, I mean, what else would it lay? You can then take that egg, go to your home, and there is a home item that you can create, which is a nest. So you put the egg down in the nest, and then interact with the nest so that your character sits over it. You literally roost over the egg like a chicken, like huddling over the egg for a certain amount of time, depending on what kind of egg it is. And then after that amount of time, the egg hatches and you have permanent access to that pet. You roost the egg with your own character. It's bizarre. And then it goes into your pet collection. And okay, so they make you make this thing. It's a wooden arcade machine that you put in your house. And the arcade machine, I think they call it the game center, is used for a bunch of different like things. It's just like, if this was like a theme park MMO, these would just be like areas that you could go to do these activities, but they didn't have that, but they wanted to include these kinds of like preset activities, like instanced activities basically. So they were like, just make a thing for it. Let's just make an arcade cabinet that's wooden. So you walk up to it, there's a couple things you can do in it. One of them is the like creature devouring game. So basically it teleports you, so you pick, okay. So you pick like a devouring pets. So you pick like there's like a list of like different beasts that you can have your pet square off with. Once you pick one, you go into like an instance little like arena, and then you summon your pet, go up to the enemy one, and then interact with it, and you can select Devour. And then your pet and that one will start fighting. They got little health bars, and they just you can't interact as far as I've tried. You just watch them duke it out, and then once your pet wins, the other beast will like fall over, and like there'll be like an animation of like a big shark ghost coming out of the ground and like devouring it, which is like your pet absorbing its essence and like leveling up. It's something. You can also do this with temporary pets. Like you just go to it and you click on like the devour option. You go to like the same mini game, if I remember correctly. Again, there's like a lot of things that I remember. There's like this whole system I haven't even seen yet called Pet Evolution, which is like you can combine pets to make different ones, like with different like parts. Let's see, Pet Evolution. Most pets that can be evolved have certain conditions for devouring parts. Let's take Stegosaurus, for example. Players need to first incubate a lotus horse deer, and after devouring it, they'll obtain a snow pine tail before it can be evolved. So you gotta eat it? Do you have to eat it yourself? I don't remember. Devouring pets. Players can tap on a temporary pet to summon the pet near the player's 10 pets should be deployed away from structures. Upon winning, the player's pet will gain XP and have a chance of replacing a current part of itself with its opponent's devourable part. Not every creature has parts which can be devoured, and not every creature can devour parts. Okay. So, like, you devour... So you have your pet devour other animals, and then there's a chance that it can get a part of it? What the fuck? What is bloodlines? Under character information bloodline, players can select up to 5 pets to link to their bloodline. 4% of linked pets' attributes are converted into character attributes. What the fuck? There's so much shit in this game. Like it's wild. There's this, oh my god. It's insane. And it just keeps throwing it at you. And it's kind of fun. The combat it doesn't feel great. It feels alright. There's some neat stuff in there, like the PvE feels fine. There's like these totems that you can go out to and like trigger them, and it'll start like battles, and that's like how you kind of get like better level it makes sense. You're doing like, I was kind of avoiding a lot of like the enemy combat like that just because I didn't see the point in it, but it's actually how you like get better weapons, essentially. There's this whole skill of sieging, which is like, there's ancient ruins around the world which also respawn. And you can go up to them with like a siege weapon, which are like specific types of weapons. It'll be like a hammer, or like you can hold like a cannon. Like you can just hold it in your hands and you just break it apart. Like all the parts of the ruin have like their health bars. You break it apart and then you level up your siege, and the siege, I don't even know like what does sieging do? What is sieging? No results. I'm on the wiki. I can't find. I don't know what sieging does. It's just, it's so much. It's crazy. And there's not a ton of info. Like, I'm going to the wiki, there's a lot of stuff that's just not filled in. Like, it's very much an unexplored game. They just dropped this thing. It's really something. And again, it's free. Oh, I should mention it's free to play, but it has like a bunch of like crazy fucking pay to win microtransaction shit. That might turn you off. At the same time, I have seen like one other person playing this game. So I don't really know what the point of paying to win is. I see houses. Like I see other players' houses, but I don't see other players. I don't know what the point of like paying to win is. Maybe PvP? I don't know. I'm assuming there's got to be PvP in this game. It's some like you make a bed. You make like a bed and you sit down in the bed and meditate, and when you meditate you have the option to astral project, and astral projecting you go to like a dream world and you get to fight these like instanced bosses to like level up your character. Like what the fuck is this? It's just always hitting you with new stuff. But like, and like it's terribly presented. Like again, like I mentioned, just like it's all of the information, all of these systems are introduced to the player in the worst possible ways. At the same time, I have like a little dinosaur mount that I can ride around. It's like a big old dinosaur, and it's kind of sick, and he can fight with you. Oh, there's this other thing. They're called attendants. I don't even know if they're like useful. So like in your house, you'll just walk into your house and there will be like a little fox man sitting at your table, and you can talk to him, and there'll be like a little interaction, like you can pay him to go away or something like that, and he'll be like, well, if you want me to go away, you gotta pay me. And you can like recruit them. You could recruit him to be an attendant, which I don't know what the attendants do besides they can fight beside you. I haven't used it. I haven't found it useful yet. Maybe it is. So like the attendants fight with you, and they'll just be little characters. Like sometimes a little lizard man will be in my house, and he's just there. He just showed up. He's just sitting on my bed. Excuse me. What the fuck else? So you have your tenant fighting with you. You can have your dinosaur pet fighting with you. You can like drink milk from animals. Like I go up to like a cow, weird, like it's like a rock cow, and I have the option to just drink its milk, and your character just gets down below it and starts sucking. What the fuck? It's something else. It's really something else. If anything I've said to you sounds interesting, check it out, I guess. Oh yeah, it's a mobile game. It's literally a mobile game. Like I noticed this, like if you look at the UI, it starts making sense. Just like the way it looks and it's designed, like it looks cheap. There's like tons of pop-in. It's really bad. And I remember like seeing like you get a prompt that's like tap/click to dismiss or something like that, and I was like, oh. The Steam page uses screenshots from the mobile version. What the fuck? Yeah, it's a big piece of shit, but in a way that I kind of like. Let's see what the reviews say. They steal your money. Not recommended. I bought 2 packs from them a month ago. They still haven't given them to me. What? They don't seem to understand that these were daily login packs. So I've missed out on tons of rewards? They don't care. What? Customer service does not seem to be well trained. They do not even seem fully staffed. I constantly got garbled responses from them, which equated to, I don't know, I'll ask someone else. And to hear that from a customer service agent is horrifying. Do not give them your money. What? Oh my god. So I guess if you buy shit, they just won't give it to you. Which is weird. That doesn't make sense. It's just a digital item? They probably just fucked it up. They probably just fucked up like whatever code gives it to you. Oh yeah, another thing. So you can you have to link your account to something, or else your character disappears once you your character disappears once you log out. So like if you play this game for the first time, one of the first things you should do is go to the menu, then link your account to you can make an account with them. Like I didn't want to link my Google or anything, so I just linked my account to their I think they make you make an account for anything. Link it so you think your shit doesn't get deleted randomly. Like what? Oh yeah, also one thing that made the game tremendously easier for me to get my head around was that a lot of because this was designed for mobile, they had to come up with a way to integrate the idea of mobile touchscreen controls mean that you can look around and tap or click on things basically pretty seamlessly, which is a nice thing about mobile gaming. I think Terraria plays better on mobile than PC. That's just my 2 cents. For that same reason. So when you what the fuck was I gonna say? Oh yeah. So there's all these things the game wants you to click on, but the only way I could find to free the mouse was to hit the escape button, which opens up a side menu, and then use that, and then just hit escape again to close that out, click on the thing I wanted to click on. But if you hit the tilde key, or I guess the accent mark key on the keyboard, instantly freeze toggles between mouse look and free mouse. Yeah. Let's see. Not recommended. One more example of a good idea but destroyed with pay-to-win mechanics. You can't beat the whales. I don't even know in what. It's fine to good, but do not expect the dev team to care nor understand 80% of chat. Learning curve is medium to high. You will receive countless items with no idea what the hell they do. The trailers are obviously showing, for a lack of a better term, lies that are not currently in this version of the game. Cool. Apparently someone, they didn't, if you don't play for 2 weeks to a month, they just delete your account. I wonder if that'll happen. Do you think if I log back in immediately after, because I haven't played it in a minute, just because I was busy with other things. Think if I logged in right now, let's do an experiment. Let me open up the game. Let's see, last played August 15th. Has it been that long? I got bogged the hell down in work. Let's open up the game while I'm recording. And let's take bets on whether or not my account has been completely deleted. Why does it open in windowed mode? Okay. Chimeraland. There's like a bunch of dinosaurs on it. I guess there's dinosaurs in game. I guess while it's loading, I can just kind of give my rep. Oh, it's the only game that I've ever seen that has an option to put different visual filters over it. Like there's an option in the settings menu for like putting, you could put like a black and white filter over it, different kinds of like lighting filters to make it like the light all like bluish green. No idea why. Let's see. Looks like my account's still here. Enter. Yep. It's still there. If you're curious what server I play on, if you'd like to play with me, the server I play on is 304 Area Jade Coast. I don't know if that I don't know if that sure. My character's name is Ligmatique. Ligma what? Ligmatique of the Fiery Hills faction. Location unknown. Yeah. Chimeraland. It is a game that you can play. It's a doozy. Yeah, I haven't been playing too many games. I haven't been playing too many games recently just because yeah, it turns out that having a week less to make a video is really stressful. It meant a lot more than I was expecting it to. I had like 2 weeks to make the first video of the month, and then like a week and basically like 2 days. 2, maybe 3 days to make the second video, to make the Lost Stage of NES. Just kind of, yeah, it's just the calendar was not on my side, so I don't want to do that in the future because that was stressful as fuck, and I ended up actually, in order to make my money, I put out the patron rewards before the video was out because I was like, fucking, I was like, I was at this point where it was like the 31st. It was like 6 p.m. and I was looking at, that's what it felt like. I don't know if it was exactly that late. It was sometime in the, I was looking at my software, my editing software, and I was like, there's like 5 minutes left in this video. And I just cannot bring myself to make it happen. It was, all my mental energy was just gone. Like, I just couldn't do shit. Also, my sleep was messed up, so I just had worse. Having a messed up sleep schedule fucks your energy levels up so bad. It was a bad time, but so like I was like, fuck it, I'll just put out, because you know the rewards are scripts and notes. So I'm like, I just made a post that was like, hey, I know this is technically like not gonna be this month, but here's the rewards. The video will be out tomorrow. I can't do it. And then I got it the next day, I finished it. And I published it with a fucking editing error in it that someone pointed out. Thank you. I think it was Ryan. And thank you so much for pointing that out, because it pissed me off so goddamn much. And I'm so stupid. I get mad at myself because I'm like, that didn't need to happen. So let me explain to you why that happened. There's like an editing error like halfway through that video. I think most of that video was actually pretty good when I rewatched it. There's an editing error like around the time I'm talking about the railway stage in Zen, or the minecart stage in Zen, where there's just like a random clip with the audio way too high of like the boss fight that happens, and it kind of cuts over my voice. So that was because I was like cutting and moving over clips from a different sequence, from a different sequence that was I had like the video in one sequence, and then the footage from like my recording of like all my gameplay footage was in another sequence, and I would just cut clips out, move it over. And I was shift clicking a lot, kind of without thinking, which shift clicking in Premiere means that you also highlight multiple clips, basically. So I would like take a clip and I'd move it over, and unbeknownst to me, it was also selecting, I had a clip from earlier in the footage also selected. So when I shift clicked the footage from later, it also dragged over that footage from earlier. And if there's like 2 minutes between the footage, between the two clips in the gameplay footage, if I drag it over to like the video, basically, the video's sequence, it will also be like 2 minutes before. I'll place down the thing that I meant to where I want to, but this other footage from like 2 minutes before that I accidentally have also selected comes over, and it'll be placed down 2 minutes before in the what's supposed to be the video. And I was like, so it like ended up getting pasted over completely unbeknownst to me. And because I was so like, oh, I just gotta get it out, I didn't rewatch it before I put it out, and I felt so shitty because I'm like, fuck, it's so careless. Like I'm getting mad thinking about it. I'm getting mad at myself thinking about it now. I was so dumb and careless. I could have just taken a few minutes to like just watch the rest of the video. So I went back and I fixed. So the part that I fixed initially, because I had to re-upload the video because I felt so dumb. I got a comment saying like, hey, is this an editing error? Because I went back, I checked, and there's that bit where I did like the anger pause, which I thought was really funny. And I was like, fuck, it like literally just covers over the joke. So I went back, I fixed that, I removed that, and then I just, without even checking the rest of the video like a fucking idiot, I just re-rendered it and just uploaded it again. So I went back and rewatched it, and I'm like, I see it, I'm like, yeah, now it's fixed. And then like the very next cut is like the same editing error, and I feel like a fucking doofus. Luckily, it's like 5 seconds out of like a 30-minute video, and it's not like the most destructive thing in the world. It's just a little weird. I'm sure when you watch it, you're like, oh, it's a little weird, but then like you just forget about it. It's such a minute part, but it pisses me off. It annoys me so much, and I get mad at myself, like, creatively. Like, why can't I just be, like, a teensy, weensy bit more thorough in my work. It really upsets me. It does. And that type of thing has not happened very often, but when it does, it annoys the hell out of me. There's one in Die Hard Part 1 where I just fucking left in, completely forgot. Like, completely missed. There's a bit where it's just, like, new text layer, which is just what it says when you add a new text layer in Premiere. Now, luckily, I think that some of my humor is surreal enough that I could get away with that being considered a joke, but it's not. It was just a mistake. And what frustrated me is that I watched that video back like 4 times while I was editing it and somehow never caught that weird error. It's like, what I only saw it after it was uploaded. So I want to go back and compile all the Die Hard parts into one whole video, because some people like binging stuff. And it makes it a little easier to... Excuse me. It's like... Yeah. Yeah, it's weird, because, like, there's, like, a big drop-off between viewership... in viewership between, like, all the different parts of Die Hard. And... personally, like, the reason I didn't just make it one single huge video was because... one, it was a big project, and it was easier for me to split up into parts. But 2, like, I mean, I could have split it up into parts and then just combined all the parts into one video, but I didn't do that, and I uploaded it, well, because 1, it would have taken me a while, and I wanted to keep to a schedule, but 2, it's like, if I just allow myself to have as much, all the time in the world to do something, I'm not going to finish it. Like, there's this really funny thing where I think people who maybe don't do a lot of creative stuff, they see people who get rushed, for instance, right? Like creatives who get rushed, and they're like, artists should have all the time in the world to make whatever they want. And, like, most artists would be like, yeah, that does sound great. And honestly, I think the truth is that there's a balance, right? Having a super unfair EA deadline is shitty and bad, and usually ends up with something kind of... There's a lot of room for destruction there. At the same time, and this occurs much less often, so I think we have less perspective on this. Usually the deadline is harsher than it is forgiving. But if you have all the time in the world to do whatever you want, it ends up with... a lot of times it ends up with the thing just never happening. Like, to be honest. There's a great case study. Go watch the Matt McMuscle's episode of What Happened on StarCraft Ghost. That's what it is. StarCraft Ghost. Which was like a... StarCraft Ghost was, to briefly summarize it, Ghost was a spin-off. Blizzard basically wanted to make a spin-off of StarCraft, and they wanted to make it focused on, I think her name is Ghost. She's like that human spy lady from the StarCraft series. And they wanted to license out the property to another studio to make this spin-off game. And they said, because they were making like fuck you money at the time, they said, you guys have as much time as you want. Take as much time, take as much money. And they were like, oh, fuck yeah. And then guess what? The game spent like 5 years in development or something like that. And they never got a concept hammered out. They had like a few test levels, but it ultimately resulted in circular arguments over, well, should the game be more stealth-based or should it be more action-based? Because there was never a point where like a manager or a producer had to sit the devs down and be like, okay guys, you need to figure out, you need an answer by Friday. I don't care what it is, you need an answer by Friday. Because ultimately, deadlines keep things on track and they force you to make decisions. And just like Sakurai says, making decisions is where the good stuff happens, I guess. He doesn't say that. But like, sometimes forcing a creative person or a creative team to make a decision it will work out. Ultimately, you gotta commit. You have to commit wholeheartedly to something. You gotta like knuckle down and say, this is what this is going to be. That is where the best thing is going to come out. Because, you know, there's... How many games are there where it's like, we're kind of like this, but we're also kind of like this, and it doesn't lean hard enough into like any one idea or concept or genre, and it ends up just feeling kind of muddled. Like Zen, the Intergalactic Ninja, a shit game, because everything you do like once, and there's like no expansion on any of the mechanics or any of the gameplay styles, and it's super shallow. Kat showed me the movie Cool World, which is a movie that I wish was good. Cool World? Okay, go watch the movie Cool World. Cool World is like the movie... You don't have to watch it. You probably shouldn't. It's not very good. Cool World is like the movie version of Zen the Intergalactic Ninja. It's like 100 ideas, and none of them are expanded upon, and it ends up being something that looks kind of cool, but is very shallow and uninteresting. It's like a... Cool World is like a sigh of hot air. Anyway, so like these things, you need to yeah, you gotta commit, basically. And deadlines are something that forces people to commit to an idea. That can be good. There is a balance to be had with a forgiving deadline, basically. Like, the game has to be out in this year. You can maybe get it like later on in development. We can talk about delaying that and moving that back, but you need to get some work done. You need to like get a portion of the game done, and if you run into trouble, we can talk about delaying it. Like frickin' oh goodness, Anthem. Anthem was a game that spent like 5 years in pre-production, where they were just fucking around with concept art, because no one ever sat them down and said, okay, you have to start making the game now. And then they were like, and then they actually made the game in like 18 months, and it comes out, and it's boring as shit, and has a bunch of broken systems that weren't tested, that just are fucking bad, because it didn't have enough time, because they spent all this time dicking around with concept art. So like... That's the reason why I don't just, like, take big breaks and then come out with, like, a 5-hour video. Because, like, it's not going to come out. Straight up, if you give me all the time in the world, like, I gotta be honest. I live pretty comfortably, right? Like, I don't have to worry about food. I don't have to pay rent or anything. I'm a fucking leech. Well, I just benefit from the fact that I live in a house with no mortgage, with my family, and fucking they buy all the groceries and shit. I am not fighting for survival when I make these videos. I have like no pressure. If you give me all the time in the world, I'm gonna sit around and I'm gonna play video games and then wonder why I'm not feeling fulfilled. As much as I do love video games. You can't fill your life with entertainment on its own, I guess. You have to do something. You have to at least do something with it. Yeah, I need to give myself a deadline, or I'm not going to do shit. Like, I see people who make like 10-hour videos or 5-hour videos, 3-hour videos. Nope. Like, Die Hard in its totality is about 3 hours, especially if you count Girls of Gaming in there as like a weird, like, prelude half-step thing. I don't know how I'm going to incorporate that into the compilation, but yeah, it in total it's like 3 hours or something. But like, yeah, I'm not going to do that all at one time. I guess that's a rant about creativity. Yeah, being self-motivated is hard when you're like me, and you jump around to a lot of different ideas. Like, I jump around from idea to idea to idea. When I say like idea, like thing to thing to thing to thing, I'll get like really into something, and that'll be like for like a week or something, and then I'm kind of done. I love going down rabbit holes. That's how this channel happened in the first place, or kind of like that, because I love researching things, and I just love hyper focusing on things. I have a friend who tells me I'm probably like partially ADHD. I don't know. I don't really care. It wouldn't change anything about me if I was diagnosed with it. But like, yeah, I like hyper fixating on things so that I can I can get the marrow out of that bone. I get all that sweet marrow, and then I'm done. Like, there's so many shows and things that I started, and I'm like, this is incredible, and then I completely drop it, and I have no interest in ever continuing or finishing it, because I feel like I got what I needed out of it for my brain. So like that'll just happen. Like I will find ways to occupy myself all day and all night. So I gotta have someone, even if it's like myself or or something, saying, hey, gotta make this by this time. So yeah, I was actually thinking today about potentially maybe next year starting, because I've been going on like I get paid per video model on Patreon. So I was thinking about maybe switching that over to just per month and just bump it up to like $10, because it's $5 per video, 2 videos a month. So it's $10 a month, and I figured I just, if I'm going to do it per month regardless, I might as well bump it up to be what it is. No, to get the equivalent amount of money. I've been thinking about it, and it's like, yeah, it would take some stress off of me, especially for months like this where there aren't or like last month where it was just a weird, the last week of the month is really short. It ends on a last week of the month. The last day of the month is a Wednesday. That's awkward, especially when I lose my entire first week. So like, yeah, I don't know if that's a good idea. I'll experiment with it, and I'll see how it works out. And if I end up being a lazy bones who can't motivate himself, then maybe I'll switch back if I feel like it's right for me. Anything else I wanted to talk about? Not really. Excuse me. I think I'll wrap it up here. We've had some long episodes last couple podcasts, so I'll do like a shorter one. If you've been listening this far, thank you for doing that, listening to me ramble. If you have a question, leave it down in the comments below, and I will definitely get to it next time. But please, phrase it in the form of a question. I don't just want to read your thoughts out loud. On schedule as usual. I've got some more ideas that I'm excited to do, so look forward to them. Check out the last video. I really like the thumbnail I put together for the last one. Patreon, yada yada. Goodbye.